So the lie began from the very beginning of time, right? And I can ask you one question right now. What does history tell you about Africa? Who discovered Africa? If you write right now on Google who discovered Africa, you find out that is one white man that he came and discovered Africa. And you can ask yourself that how can you discover a place that already exists? How can you discover a place that people already live in that place? It is impossible, but that's what the history tells us. That's what people believe about Africa, that it was discovered by a white man. This guy, he came, and then he went back, he gave a report, and then the next we know is colonialism, because those guys, they sat somewhere to divide Africa like a piece of cake, because they discovered it, they own it, it belonged to them. But that is us. We discovered it. We're the first people to know. And today you have a lot of people around the world that they think that Africa was discovered by them.
Good evening, good morning, wherever you are in the world. We are live on Swahili Nation. This is the biggest YouTube channel for Pan-African, for African and friends of Africa who want the real change. Before starting, let me thank God for the opportunity he's giving me to address all of you through this powerful channel. Let's ask him to guide us tonight and give us more inspiration than we have, and protect us and keep guiding us until we realize our common goal, which is a free Africa. This beautiful Africa we are about to change. This is the first time you see me presenting the show, so today I'm the boss here. Mika is in South Korea. He's traveling, also fighting for Africa all over the world. I will present you something maybe surprising today, but I hope it will inspire you to take action. I am an action man. I've been talking also a lot before, but from now on, I want us to take action. So, you have seen the announcement of this show, Africa, Poverty-Free Africa. It may be surprising because Africa is associated with poverty, with troubles, with instability all over the world. But I'm here tonight and during the next shows to tell you that this poverty in Africa is actually not the problem. There is an underlying reason of poverty in Africa, and that is what we should focus on. So I'd like to talk to you today, and starting by presenting what I think it could be the solution to eradicate poverty from Africa once and forever. I will present you the solution. Before that, start talking about, you see now poverty-free Africa appearing. So there is no poverty in Africa. I said there is a paradox of poverty in Africa, and I will explain, I will demonstrate that poverty in Africa doesn't make any sense. There is actually no reason for poverty in Africa. But of course, we need to work together to change this situation. So my name is Max Kofi. I was born in West Africa, a small country called Togo. My parents came from both Togo and Guinea-Conakry. And I grew up in Congo-Brazzaville. That's where I've studied medicine. And after that, I went to France. I did psychology. And then I start my life mission, which is liberating Africa from the chain of the past and take Africa to where we belong to be. So I've been doing different things. At this moment, I live in the Netherlands. I live in the Netherlands since something like 18 years now. I've been working in different industries, start by education. I've been working for private companies. I've been involved in local politics because that was my first idea, to take this story of Africa through politics. And then, because I was not satisfied, that it was not the reason why I left Africa. I didn't left Africa just because I love the winter or I like to live in Europe. I was looking for a solution because I had discovered very early that problems in Africa are not only caused by Africans. So I came to Europe to investigate, try to find where the problem was and how could I contribute to solve it. So in 2013, somewhere, I won organization called Africa in Motion. It's an official NGO registered here in the Netherlands. And we started setting up projects to involve African migrants in development issues in Africa. Because me, myself, I was in this mindset like Africa need development. Africa need help. And so we start creating projects in agriculture, knowledge transfer, entrepreneurship since 2013. But still, I wasn't satisfied. I discovered during my travel in Africa that we all have the same problems. Starting from Egypt till South Africa, from Senegal till Ethiopia, all African countries have the same problem, what we call poverty. Poverty of people, financially, but also from governments. So I wasn't satisfied. And during COVID, when COVID started, because we are all working from home, I got more time to meditate, to ask God, what is the, please show me the real problem of Africa so that I can invest myself in it to solve this problem. So this is how I came to this new movement called Equal Trade. Like I told you in the beginning, poverty in Africa is a paradox. It doesn't make any sense. Normally, we African people, we should be the richest one in this whole world. There is no one reason that someone from Tanzania or from Ethiopia or from Zimbabwe lives in poverty compared to someone from Dubai or from the United States or from France or from the Netherlands where I am. And that's where I discover what the real problem was from poverty in Africa. So tonight I'm going to present you the equal trade concept. And like I told you, I'm not a man of ideas, a man of talking, I'm in action. So what I'm going to present tonight is actually an action plan. How are we going to get out of this paradox of poverty in our lifetime? And at the same time, how are we going to unify Africa? Africa needs to become a power in the world. We deserve it. We have been giving away all this power to the whole world for centuries, and all we got back is arrogancy and disrespect. So now it's time to stand up, all of us, and change the situation. So let me present you the concept. I'll use a PowerPoint to make it clear. The idea is to present this today, but I had a discussion with Mika, and he told me, listen, Max, we need to take this idea to the next level. So you feel free and use Swahili Nation channel the way you want, with the aim of reaching as much people as possible in Africa and outside of Africa. Because this fight will not only happen in Africa, it has to take place outside of Africa also. Yesterday, someone was asking me, are you still in the Netherlands? I told him, yes, I'm still here for 3 years more, and then I'll go back to Africa. But in these 3 years, we are going to work very hard on mobilization of European youth. For our brothers in the United States, you should also stand up and start working on mobilizing the American youth. Our brothers in Canada, you should do the same. All over the world, what African diaspora is, this should become your priority. Mobilize and create awareness among people. Because this is a big issue. And what I've seen is a big, big level of ignorance. In Europe and in Africa, all over the world, nobody knows what's really going on. So people have perceptions, but they don't see the reason of what's happening. Before starting, let me tell you an anecdote. Something happened 2 months ago. I was giving a lecture at a high school in one Dutch city here in the Netherlands. We have a workshop called Africa is Rich. So we go to schools and we create awareness about the real situation of Africa. What is Africa? What Africa is giving away to the rest of the world. And at the end of it, one young Dutch student, who was 24 or 25, told me, Max, I'm very grateful because I wasn't aware that agriculture was possible in Africa. So can you imagine a young Dutch boy from 25 years old getting his master, so very close. if he wanted to be active in politics, to enter the parliament, who was not aware that agriculture was possible in Africa. And that strengthened me to tell me, like, you should go for it. We need to make people aware of the real situation. So let me start presenting you this concept of equal trade. To stream, yes. I'm going to tell you about the equal trade certification, because this will be the solution to the real problem causing poverty in Africa. So through this equal trade certification, we will be able to end the paradox of poverty in our lifetime. So not about 100 years, not about 200 years, but in our lifetime. The real problem of Africa since slavery, colonialism, just after colonialism, there have been agreements between Western countries and African countries. We were already divided, so they took advantage of that and put Africa in this international trade in the situation of only provider of raw material to the Western world, because they already had made this industrial revolution. They already had machines, they had industries. So all they needed from us were raw materials. This is what they called non-processing agreements from the World Bank, between the World Bank and African countries. So African countries are only allowed to deliver raw materials. So there is a very big injustice at that level. So if we can create justice in the trade, we can reduce inequalities in redistribution of wealth. You can see here upstairs, this is a chocolate bar. This is a very small piece. If you translate it to monetary value, this is what's going to Africa. But later on, you will see the real thing, what's happening. So let's move on. I won't be long on this. You all know about the fact that Africa has the most raw materials compared to other continents. But instead of being a salvation, this treasure has become a curse for us. It's only creating poverty, political instability, conflicts, you name it. But each African country, you can see on this map, has crucial raw materials that are needed for industrialized countries. All of them. You go from Guinea with bauxite, to Congo with coltan, to Tanzania with tanzanite, South Africa, platinum, Ghana, gold. All African countries, even countries of Somalia, has uranium. So each African country, all 55 countries in Africa, have a lot of raw materials that are needed to create wealth outside of Africa. And that's why they are being used for And all this division of Africa, you know the story, we need to unite. These borders have not been put in here just of political reason. This is strategy to keep us divided and get access to raw materials. So like I said, there is a paradox of poverty in Africa. And if you look at the World Bank report from every year, this is the report of 2021, you can see the poorest country of the world, the top 10 are African countries. And you can see DRC. This is actually the richest country of all the world. Democratic Republic of Congo. But they are now officially on the list of the poorest country in the world. That's what I call paradox. I want you to focus on one case, and that will make it easy to understand what's happening, what's going on with Africa. So let's take only one raw materials from agriculture from one country. These cocoa beans from Ghana. This is the world production. These are also data from the World Bank and the World International Trade Organization. The biggest part, more than 70% of the cocoa beans production, it's coming from Africa. Ghana, Ivory Coast, Nigeria, Cameroon. And it's not only the quantity, it's also about the quality. The cocoa bean from Ghana, from Ivory Coast, from Nigeria, from Cameroon is 100 times better quality than the one coming from South America and East Asia. So it's not only about the quantity. When we go to financial value of these raw materials, you can see it here. The chocolate market at the world level, it's about, in 2020, was about 130 billions. And the prediction for 2028, you can see it here, it's about 419 billions every year. And we are doing this business, this trade, since just after the colonization. So more than 60 years now, we are dealing with the world in this way. These are the share in this cocoa supply chain. So 40% goes to retailers, 35% go to manufacturer, processing. Farmers in Africa only get 6.6% of the all value chain. So all these billions, we are only getting 6% of it. Even people in the marketing, people who even don't know how a cocoa tree looks like, make money from it. Here in Europe, in the United States, all over the world, these people are making money from one raw material from Africa. These are the incomes of farmers. Really ridiculous if you see that what African farmers are getting at the end of the day, it's less than what they call a minimum revenue, for poverty. The World Bank has this kind of calculation. But our farmers are getting less than that. So this is also a research from a university. You can see here, it's about how big is the plantation. income per year, per hectare they're making. So this is what a farmer in Africa is owning every year. And because we African, we have big families, you get at the end, each family members living with less than 50 cents euro a day, or less than €1 a day. A billions business. I had a meeting last time with a young Ghanaian. He was studying at Harvard University. He went back to Ghana. He's running his one company. And I've showed him this one. This is actually where you can understand what we call paradox of poverty. In the oil production of Ghana, these cocoa beans arrived here in Amsterdam, the country where I am. So the next live stream, I will go to the port of Amsterdam, make short videos, and I will show you. The all cocoa production of Ghana arrived in the Netherlands. In the Netherlands, they make semi-finished products and they disseminate it in the world, and it becomes chocolate. But then you can see the real situation. The government of Ghana is keeping over $100 million every year from this business. And the Netherlands, who only makes semi-finished products, get up to 20 billion euro every year. And this is going on since 60 years already. And when it comes to world level, you have seen the figure in the slide before. We are talking about 130 billion US dollar every year, made from one raw material from one African country. So when we talk about equal trade, it's all about this. Redistribution should take place here. We cannot keep on accepting this. You get 100 million and your first partner get 20 billion out of it and the rest get 130 billion. This is exactly what we call monkey business. It's like you give gold to a child, or a child gives you gold, and then you give him a candy back for his gold. So this is why African government don't have enough money. Few of you, or maybe all of you, knows what's happening now in Ghana. In the parliament, the Minister of Finance of Ghana is going now, this week or last week, to the World Bank for a loan of $86 billion to avoid bankrupt in Ghana. Because this is the only money they get and they have to pay everything with this. So this is what I call throwing our wisdom away, giving it just for free. These are protests in Ghana. It's happened last year. It's going on again. People are not half happy. They are asking the government to fix the country. But how can you fix the country with this kind of small amount of money as government? In the Netherlands here, you can even build 2-3 kilometers of highway with this 100 billion Ghana is getting from the cocoa trade. How can you fix a country with no money as government? So these are the consequences of poverty, and these are things people are focusing on, and they are all, oh, let's solve the unemployment, let's solve migration, let's solve political conflict, let's solve gender inequality. You see all these NGOs from the world going to Africa trying to fix this, while they all know that this is also happening. So it gives them the opportunity to come inside Africa and try to solve this problem. But the reason is because of this unequal trade system. So you have unemployment. And then you see, even from Africa, you see a lot of initiatives. I know in Nigeria, there is a campaign asking the government to create jobs. How can you create jobs when you don't have money? How? Europeans are complaining about migration. In Amsterdam, in the Netherlands, next to the port where all this cocoa have been arrived, from Ghana, there is an area called the Belmer where thousands of Ghanaian refugees are living. And why are they coming here? Because of this. 20 billions in the Netherlands only, and Ghana has only 100 millions. So people are moving out of Africa because of this unequal trade system. And it is time to talk about this. But when you follow the debate in Europe, in the US, all over, when they talk about migration from Africa, they all put it on bad governance, on political conflicts. Nobody talk about the real reason. That's the reason why I am doing this. We need to understand what's going on with Africa, and we can stop this. And poverty is not only affecting Africa. This is what we are telling Europeans here. This poverty affects also Europe, because you are all time complaining about migration. There is a politician in the Netherlands here from a Christian party saying we should watch out. There are millions of Africans coming our way. And I always tell them, yes, you should be prepared. We are coming. If this trade system stays the way it is now, you will have all Africa in your way, on their way to your countries. So these are the consequences of poverty, and that is what people try to solve. Even from the diaspora, we are putting all effort in solving this problem instead of focusing on the reason of the problem. And then from the chocolate industry, because they know about child labor, they know about gender inequality, they come up with solution they call fair trade, like giving a little bit more money to the farmer, saying that, okay, now we have fair trade and people are buying the products. But actually, it's all for one reason, to increase the production, for them to get more raw material. So there are reports on this Fair Trade Foundation. You can see the report on Google saying that this fair trade is not working. So what is the solution? That's why I'm here. And today I'm going to present this, but the next live stream will be inviting influential from different African countries, get together, discuss how are we going to present this solution to African people, but also outside of Africa. So we have all these corporate social responsibilities, initiatives, going to Africa, building small schools, building small healthcare centers. But those things are the responsibility of a government. How can you allow a company to build a school in the country? How can you allow an NGO to come inside Africa to build a school, to take care of street children, to take care of women. How and why? Just because we are losing that much money. So it's time to change. And then they went from, how do you call it, corporate social responsibility initiative to fair trade. So giving a little bit more money at the farm gate to the farmers. But even then, there are evidences that even that small money doesn't reach farmers. So our solution is the equal trade certification. I hope you remember redistribution of this in this cocoa value chain. What we are asking for from now, we Africa, we have the raw materials. Europe, America, China, they have the industry. Fine. From now on, what we want is a new agreement. You use our raw material to produce semi-finished things or finished product. When you put them on the market, the financial revenues out of the sale of those end products should be shared among Africa and Europe. So we become shareholders of manufacturers, processing, or company and retailers. So, which means the 20 billions owned by the Netherlands from the cocoa business or trade, at least 5 or up to 8 billion should go back to Ghana. This is what we are about asking from now. We don't want this monkey business anymore because we have the most important element in the whole value chain. That's what I'm telling European people here. Like, okay, fine, you have your machine to make chocolate. Try one day to put 1 billion euro in this machine. But believe me, you will never have 1 gram of chocolate. So without our raw material, all your industry is just for nothing. You can have all your knowledge. You can have all your universities. You can never make chocolate from a book. You need our raw material. From now on, what we want is to share the benefit made at the end of the production, of the value chain. And if we apply this to all thousands raw materials from Africa, this is how we can stop poverty in our lifetime right now. But then when I present this, I get questions. Yeah, but isn't it better if you African process the raw material in Africa? Then you can control. This is something we should watch out because it's not possible right now. First, we have these non-processing closures with the World Bank. We don't have a capital to invest massively in this because we are talking about creating industries that could deliver product to the whole world. There is no one country in Africa who can invest right now in industry at the world level. It's just not possible. That's one reason. So the second one, if you need that money, you will have to borrow it. And this is what our government, what our NGOs, what our organizations are shouting all day. We need foreign investment. We need foreign investment. How are you going to become free if you are depending on foreign investment? These investors are not crazy. When they put their money in something, they also want the benefit. And this benefit, they are not going to give it to you. So we cannot invest right now in industrialization of Africa. We don't have the money for it. We don't have the infrastructure for it. And if we do it, we will be obliged to use foreign investments. That's one reason. The second reason why we shouldn't do it right now is just because we are going to mimic industrialization the way it has happened in Europe and in the United States, all over the world. And you see the result today, this climate change. We can do it more intelligently. Africa needs, what I want for Africa is the best. We need a clean industry. And the clean industry we can set up in Africa is called bio-based industrialization. So first, get part of our money back, massively invest in agriculture, and the byproducts from agriculture will be used to start the bio-industrialization of Africa. That will create as much jobs as possible, even more than this traditional linear industry. We can make the jump to circular economy in Africa right now. But first, we need to fix this inequality in the trade. The revenues are really not equally redistributed. So that's our first priority. That's the second reason why we cannot do it now. And the third reason, it will take us at least 100 years before having these industries. Europe didn't make this overnight. So how do you want a country like Mali or Niger to set up an industry to process uranium? How do you want that? It will never happen between now and 200 or 300 years. We can only start doing it if we have enough money to invest. And that money, we can get it back by imposing this equal trade certification to all our trade partners. Europe, China, the United States, wherever comes to Africa to deal with us when it comes to trade, we should impose this equal trade certification. So this is a bit how we can stop poverty in Africa and turn it into history. We make poverty history in Africa. It's possible, but we need to organize ourselves before realizing this. So we need to have a fair profit, the profit distribution. That's all. And please don't buy this story like Africa should process their own raw material. I'll give you 3 reasons why it's just not possible now. And we have a better reason. We can go to a better kind of industrialization that is also taking the lead in this world. We can show other continents how to do this. When it comes to sustainability, there is no continent in the world, there is no culture in the world who knows more of our sustainability than African people. This recycling, the whole story of recycling started in Africa. We are doing it since centuries already. You take a cassava tree, you have the cassava, you can cook it, you have the cassava leaves, you can cook it. All the waste from cassava, you can process it into valuable products. So we have the choice now to go for a cleaner industry of Africa. And where we should focus on, because it's possible now, it's only about negotiation. Telling people, we don't deal with you if you don't accept this equal trade. That's all. It won't take 100 years. It won't take any foreign investment. It won't take any polluting industry. So these are the 3 target for this compensation. Trading companies, manufacturer, and retailers. All of them should pay a share to African countries based on what they earn over the year. This should be, and it will become the new agreement between Africa and the rest of the world. So this is a bit, when I talk about rethinking the trade of African raw materials, it goes deeper than only talking about redistribution of what has to happen in Africa itself. When it comes to policies, when it comes to how to deal with the outside world. That's what I call the Ubuntu economy. So we turn raw materials into common goods. We can agree on that. Tell the rest of the world, listen, we African, we believe, we don't even believe, we are Ubuntu. We don't want to run this world without you. So let's make new agreement. Raw materials are common goods. You have this industry right now, fine. So we need to stop this supplier-buyer relationship. You don't come to Africa and buy raw material and say, bye-bye. We have another agreement. You need the raw material. We also, as African, we need these final products. So let's make a new agreement. You process it because you are in the position of doing it right now, but we share the benefit at the end. And I have already told about this bio-industrialization of Africa, bio-based industrialization, and we can start by negotiating around 40% becoming shareholder. So because they have the industry, they have cost, they can put 20% there. And they also get at the end 40%. If you do this, you apply this to 100 billions, there won't be problem. Africa gets 40 billions, the partner gets 40 billions, and 20 billions can be used for running the industry they have. But then more important of all of this, that's why I'm talking about eradicating, ending poverty in Africa. It's not only the government, but the people in Africa. We need to set up a kind of national wealth funds. This money coming back should be redistributed among all African people. So you take Ghana, because you was born in Ghana, you get revenue yearly, every year. You have a contract with the government. Because you are Ghanaian, you will have a share in the national cake. This is how we can go down and stop poverty, even in rural areas now in Africa. This is a new kind of leadership. The raw materials belong to the people, not to the government. This is how they have, this is the real reason why they have divided Africa. Because after the division of Africa, they advised our so-called leaders to change the constitution. One article saying that the raw materials belongs to the government. And they are all done it. All African leaders, they have signed it because it was in their interest. They are owners of the raw materials. That's why they came later on with democracy, to allow a kind of change in this access to the wisdom of the country. But raw material don't belong to the government. It is something all African people should put in their mind. We cannot accept this. The raw materials and natural resources of an African country don't belong to the government. It belongs to African people. So any transaction involving those raw material should be redistributed to all citizens. The richest country in this world is Norway. They only have one raw material, only one. But you should go there and see the level of the standard of life in that country. How people are getting money from the government because the oil belongs to all of them. So you take a small country as Ghana. Ghana is 10 times richer than Norway. So why are Ghanaians poor? Because in the constitution, they said the raw material from Ghana belongs to the government of Ghana. So no one Ghanaian can go now and say, yeah, Europe is stealing from us. They are not stealing, they are buying it. It's official transaction. And that is the reason why they have put these borders to have government controlling the raw material. And this is why you have all this conflict. And they came with democracy, because all political parties in Africa want to get access to these raw materials. It's the only way for them to get money, by selling it at a very low price, but still enough for a small group of people. You take 100 million, you divide it among 100 people, they are very happy. They all have 1 million. Can you imagine 1 million in Ghana, 1 million in Tanzania every year for one person? Why should we like to change the system? So this is what has to happen. We should change the constitutions and put in the constitution that the raw materials belong to all the people, and create a system, internal system of redistribution of the wealth, the national wealth. So that's the next one here I'm saying. The government in Africa are not longer owner of the raw material. So when we talk about change in Africa, we should go this deep, not only asking for democracy, because the next government you are going to elect is going to control the raw materials, while the raw materials belongs to you. So instead of fighting for democracy, we should fight for these national wealth funds. And any government who will apply this, for me, they can remain on power their whole life. Even after their death, we can keep calling them president. So this is how we can rethink the trade of African raw material with outside partners from outside, but also how to fix these issues inside our countries. So these are the, at policy level, these are the pillars to end poverty right now. First, renegotiate all this agreement. African people, that's also something. There is an example, I was laughing. The government of Ivory Coast have sold a gold mine to a Canadian company for $25 million, a gold mine. And the Canadian have made a research, and now they are very happy because they have evidence that they can exploit this gold mine for 100 years. But now it belongs to them. Ivory Coast are something like 35 million people. So if you put this like popular shares, everybody can access to it, can buy a share. Even with $1, every citizen, they should have more than these 25 million. So this is something at policy level we need to democratize, make it investment possible for all citizens. Any investment should be open. We should have a kind of system of open shares for citizens. If you have $1, you can have a share. If you have $10, you can have a share. And at the end of the year, you get your interest back. And third thing we could apply is like what I call this national wealth funds to redistribute the money. That is very interesting. That is the debate on unifying Africa. Okay, but why? You know, so if we remove these artificial borders, we can apply all this very easily, because current government, because of this article in the Constitution that they are owner of the raw material, that is the main reason they won't go to the United States of Africa. The name doesn't matter. We can even change the name of Africa. So don't come with the question, the remark like, yeah, we need to call it differently than United States of Africa. But this is the reason why our government don't want to go to the United States, because they will lose control on the raw materials from one state, from this nation state. So I've been talking about this redistribution of national wealth. That is interesting. So you have a lifelong share. It's a contract with any citizen with the government. The raw material belongs to us. So any income generating activity on the continent, now we're talking about if we can unify the continent. So someone from Kenya can have a revenue from business, the trade coming from gold or coltan from Congo. Someone from Congo can get something from Tanzanian business. Someone from Senegal can get something from the bauxite coming from Guinea. This is how we are going to make African people the richest people on earth, because we deserve it. In the Bible, when they talk about the Adam and Eve, yesterday I was talking to people and they will say, are you joking? I said, no, I'm not joking. Adam and Eve were the first official person according to the Bible, and according to the science, the first person were in Africa. So Africa is the paradise. So we should fight to take African back inside this paradise. And this is one way of doing it. If we can take poverty out of Africa, then we will have space to express ourselves and share with the world the best of us. All this Ubuntu philosophy, we can share it with the world, but we need to be in power position. Nobody take African serious today. Until we reach this level, this situation will continue. So it's important to understand unifying Africa and having a system that allows African people to benefit from the wisdom of Africa. If we take away these artificial borders, let me start by the last reason why we need to do this. Today we have agreement with China, with Europe, with America, with India. Even Brazil is now coming to Africa. Even Turkey, they are coming to Africa. They have agreements. Fine. But then they have agreement with a country. So if we abolish these artificial borders, all this agreement will become, from that day, they won't have any value anymore. So no Chinese can come to Kenya telling them, we had a contract with the government of Kenya. We can tell him, sorry, there is no government in Kenya anymore. You made a deal with an institution. Now Africa has changed. We have a federal state. So all this agreement can be renegotiated. So that's very interesting. And not like we're talking about free trade zone in Africa. That's also something, you know, like just to take us far from the focus. People are praising it, like this is very good, free trade zone in Africa. But tell me, how can, let's say again, okay, I take another country. Let's say Burkina Faso. Burkina Faso is selling a lot of gold to Japan, by the way. That's what they are using to make these chips for the computers. And people think gold is only to be put on the bank, but they are using it in industry. So take Burkina Faso. How could Burkina Faso buy uranium from Niger? And even if they buy it, what are they going to do with it? What can Tanzania do with, let's say, platinum they buy from South Africa? What are they going to do with it? So this free trade zone in Africa is a good idea, but it's something natural when Africa will be really united. And when we will have this agreement of equal trade, allowing us to have the same amount of revenue than European, than American, than Chinese. Then we can start producing. Otherwise, what we can do now in this free trade zone is to sell each other bananas, onions, vegetables. But by doing that, Africa will never become a power. We just can forget about it. So this is why it's important to don't have borders and not continue like this, like, okay, we have this country, we have to agree. They will never agree on anything because I've told you they are depending on this raw materials business. And if we unify this, Africa, then you don't have anymore this predator states, you know, like then you don't have any absolute power thinking I am the president, so the country belongs to me, because it is in the constitution. Africa belongs to African people, and any leaders in Africa should be aware of his role, which is only managing and redistributing wealth among the people, not dominating the people. So this is how I see politics in Africa, but the basic of this is to first eradicate poverty. Otherwise, we will never get there. And why is the redistribution of national wealth so important? Because it's the only solution to all this ethnical and religious conflict. Most of them are led by economical interest. Political instability. You have one party willing the power, the other one, because they know what they are willing. They want to get in the office to control the wisdom of the country. But if we can redistribute the wealth among all citizens, we can really reduce this political instability. Unemployment is the same thing. Migration. I don't know why Africans will be running out of Africa if they have their share in the national cake. I don't know why. Maybe we will be traveling in the world like very rich tourists. We go somewhere, we have a good life, we enjoy, and then we go back to Africa. But we won't have any more women, children dying in sea because they want to reach out to Europe thinking that this is a paradise. All this human rights violation. If we can realize the national redistribution of wealth, we can tackle all this problem. We don't need any NGOs coming in Africa to talk about human rights violation. We need to solve this ourselves, and it's possible. So this is the last slide. Maybe I've been a bit long, but when I start talking about this, it's very difficult to stop me. And I hope you can understand that. So we shouldn't submit anymore for no one, for no system. We need to come together from now on. This concept of equal trade, it's what we're going to discuss in the next sessions. How are we organizing it? Because it's already happening. We have created a movement, we call it Equal Trade Movement. We are setting up teams in different African countries. At this day, we are in about 15 countries in Africa, from north till southern part of Africa. And the ideal, the goal, not even the ideal, what we are working on is to have teams in all 55 African countries, and then have teams in all countries of the European Union, because the campaign should take place also in Europe. During the next shows, we will go more into the deep to explain how this movement is going to grow and help us realize this ideal of equal trade. So if you have any question or comment, I can see in the comment section there are 61 comments. Wow. So I have my brother Paul helping me. Maybe you can help selecting a few questions or comments, and then we can I can try to answer. But you should know that now we have planned from today on 5 or 6 different other live stream where we will invite African and European and anyone from the diaspora to come and debate and discuss about this issue. So thanks God for giving me this opportunity to have tell you about this concept, and let's discuss if there are questions. Marie Antoinette, we need counsel of assist legal mind that defend the public. Our government must no longer be able to sign bad contracts that sacrifice the interests of the public. That is a very good comment. And what I would like to tell you, Marie Antoinette, is also from your one part, we should stop thinking and talking from the position of observer. We should think we can become leaders, and we are able to apply what we are thinking. But you are completely right. We need conscience, like you said, and this is the idea of the equal trade movement. So I hope you will join the next live stream, because this is exactly what we are going to discuss, and how are we going to put the pressure both in Africa but outside of Africa, in Europe, in the United States, because China is not easy to enter and then put the pressure, but it will happen. And that is the idea of having this wealth. Mariette, what do you think about this fair trading agreement? It seems fake. Fair trade, you mean, I hope. Fair trade is not fake, it's just a strategy. That's something you should really understand. They are not faking anything, it's just a strategy, because people in Europe, they buy product with this fair trade label, thinking they are doing something good. So companies know that, they know how the public react on it, and they are promoting. It's just a marketing tool, having fair trade agreement. So I hope that is the question is asking. So it's not fake, but it's just part of the game. Saying we are giving a little bit more money to the farmers, and the farmers have good life from it, which is not true. But in Europe, in the United States, all over the world, people don't know African farmers are living. They don't know the situation. Nobody's showing them that. So they are doing something from their own conscience, thinking this is good. We are helping African farmers or farmers in South America. But so it's not fake at all. It's just a strategy, commercial marketing. Yes, what's needed to get this government is the only thing here is a grassroots movement. Government in Africa should see that African people are asking them to demand for equal trade. In any trade agreement they are going to sign with foreign partners, let's say. So when they will see that, and that's the reason why you are also jumping into the next session already, Marit. When African government will see millions of people, of young African people, only asking them to demand for equal trade. We are not asking for regime change. We are only asking for creation of wealth for African people. And then we will tell our government, the one who will do this for us, you will remain on power your whole life. We don't care about politics anymore. We need a better life because we deserve it. So government that will stand up for this, because they like to be government, so they can be happy. They will stay government. I know my people in Africa, people want to have good life. The politics, the democracy have been brought to Africa. Before that, we had other system. Nobody was asking kings in Africa to remove them for democracy. We want another king, you know? So it's the same thing that will happen. They should stand strong because the people are behind them. And then we can reach stability. Oh yeah, maybe I can add something on top of this. And then I go to the question of Robin Bukenya. Thank you for being here, brother. Depression will be also put in Europe. So our government in Africa will be obliged to do this because they will see Europeans themselves asking for equal trade. So there won't be any reason for them to say, no, we don't do it. Okay, we can go to the question of Robin. Sorry, Paul. Equal trade will serve global change because what I want is to initiate the movement from Africa to allow Africa to come finally with a groundbreaking concept for the global South. Because what's going on in Africa is also happening in South America. It's also happening in Asia. So what I'm trying to do is to allow Africa to take the lead in this movement. And this is where equal trade will serve global change. It will serve global change also by allowing us to really impose like investment in clean energy, in clean industries. So that is very important. And controlling our raw materials that are being used, for example, in weapon industries can also contribute to peace in the world, because a lot of weapons are made with this same raw material. So if we have a strong Africa telling, for example, the United States of America, we don't deal with you as long as you have this weapon wet in your constitution. You don't get access to anything in Africa. But we are not in the position of doing this at this moment. That's why we need equal trade, to strengthen the position of Africa in the world and to allow us finally to do what Africans are meant to do. We can lead this world to peace. And the situation where we are now, it's not possible because nobody listens to Africans. How can they listen to us while they are controlling what is most valuable in our continent? They don't have time to listen to Africans. And you can see it in the United Nations. There is no one African country in the Security Council because they don't take us serious. So equal trade can serve global change by all this, for all these reasons. Very good question, by the way, Robin. Yes, that is, Matifi, you're completely right. So it's just marketing strategy. You know, Europeans are very strong in that. We African also, we have a lot of things to promote, but we are so peaceful that we are not doing this kind of thing. But you are completely right. Actually, this word should be included in our campaign. Thank you very much for bringing it. So they don't have any philosophy. The only philosophy they have is to make profit. That's what you should understand. And how to make profit by telling nice stories. So fair trade is just a nice story. Yes, that's also a very good answer from the architect. Yesterday, I was listening to you, and I've asked Paul also to get in touch with you because you're saying very interesting things. We need to meet and work together. We have to come together and do this all together. So that is very true what you're saying. And we should also, that's something like development. You never hear the United States talking about development. You never hear Europe talking about development. You never hear China talking about development. They just do it. So this is the mindset we need in Africa. All these words are Western words coming to Africa. We don't need them. Like saying Africa is, there is another funny word they're using. Africa is emerging. Emerging from where? You know, and then we take it also. But this is convincing politicians who are already in that spot to change the law. And this is exactly what I was saying. That's what I call putting them under pressure by showing them how big we are, how big the supporters are. We need to create a critical mass so that these leaders that are already in that spot, they can just say, oh, now I have to do it. Look, my people are asking for it. But at this moment, without the support of African people, our leaders are very vulnerable. You can do anything with an African leader. Anything. You see what's happening. In Burkina, they have made 2 coups in 6 months. They have killed Sankara. If you don't have your people behind you or before you even, it's very easy to. So we need to create this critical mass so that the leaders that are now on that spot, they can feel like, okay, now it's a time for it. So they won't have to fight that hard to reach the goal. But you are completely right. That's why we need to meet and discuss. And everything must move in accordance to the goal. That's strategically very true. That's why we need to organize ourselves in a very intelligent way. Because if we miss this change right now, it will be very, very difficult for Africa to raise again. I'm afraid of that, but I'm confident. I know it won't happen. Never. We will never let it happen. Yes, Mr. Sherry, fair trade is just fake. Right, this is what I'm talking about, immoral. Because they sell nice stories, telling people that farmers are getting better life. My office in Utrecht is next to the office of fair trade. And I know these people make millions every year by selling these certifications. Millions every year. So even that, when we will create this equal trade, it will also become a kind of labeling company selling this certification to Chinese, to American, to European. We can get much more than that. But you're completely right, my brother. It's just immoral. But as African, we should all now, from now on, think, how are we going to create a new reality so that these people don't have any access to Africa anymore? We don't need fair trade. So you can't even have a visa to come inside Africa to talk about this. All these NGOs making money by telling nice stories about Africa. Zebenai, do you think that the current policy trade of Africa is good for AU, African economic integration? Yeah, I think I've already discussed the AU, Africa. Okay, let's put it in a bigger context. Huh? You have the African Union to start with. They are getting funding from European Union. And that says a lot already, you know, so the relation is like not equitable. But the current policy trade of Africa is very, very, very good for the AU because they are benefiting from it. Let me tell you something. I am sure you are all following what's happening in Europe now. They are all talking about energy transition because of climate change. But what they are not saying is that the raw material for this energy transition, almost 80% of these are also coming from Africa. Others are coming from European countries like Serbia, who are also under this capitalist system. So the question of Robin, like the global change, if we succeed in applying equal trade, we will have allies in East European countries, in South American countries, in East Asian countries. And then we will form new blocks. This is how Africa is going to become a power. And of course, what's happening now, to come back to your question, Zebenai, it's the current policy trade of Africa is just very, very good. And we don't need the AU-Africa economic integration. We don't need any integration with no one. Africa should be Africa, and we deal with the rest of the world based on our conditions. That's what they are doing. You can go to China now and tell them, we want integration. They will put you in prison if you say that. So we want a strong Africa, and then we negotiate. We are not going to integrate with no one. Fenta, nice name, by the way. Muberes, you are absolutely right. Why are they want to tell us what is best for us? Yeah, we can't take it any longer. So, and it is all because we think we are poor, we need. But let's apply equal trade, and this poverty will disappear. Let's unify Africa, which will allow nobody to come saying, I'm going to Kenya. No, you're going to Africa, okay. It's a federal state. You have to explain me, why do you want to come to Africa? You want to come for safari? We don't sell safari anymore. We keep for our one children, they will go there. We leave our animal alone, you know, in peace. So I appreciate what you are saying. We are too weak at this moment. That's why we need to create this critical mass to support our governments, the one who really wants we can give them more power than they have. But we need to do it first. That is what I call focus. We need to focus on that. But when you are weak, anybody can come to you and tell you whatever he wants. So we need to become strong. Africa needs to become strong. They are not supporting terrorist organizations only in Ethiopia, but also in Nigeria, in Mali, all over in Somalia. And that is also something people don't know. Somalia has a lot of uranium. That's where Iran is getting its uranium from. And that's the reason why they have created Al-Shabaab, to create insecurity in the region where uranium is. So all this conflict is about raw materials. So please, let's understand this and let's stand up to ask for equal trade. And then we can have the control on it. Because they don't need to fight for the raw materials. If we turn it into common goods and we are a powerful Africa, there is no reason to fight for it. The raw materials belong to us, African. We deal with whatever we want. But we first need to protect Africa so that you don't come inside and create troubles because you have a deal with a nation state called Mali. Now you can see what's happening in Mali. They have kicked France out, but they are asking Russia to come in. What do you think Russia will do in Africa? Exactly the same as Europe, the rest of our Europe has done. They are there for raw materials. So this is a very good remark. Thank you very much. I'm getting more energy from you guys now. Thank you very much. This is what I hope for African to understand. If you take, there is a country in Africa called Guinea. I will give you this example. Guinea is the biggest producer of bauxite in the whole world. They have like 80%. And the best bauxite, not like bauxite you can find a bit in Malaysia. So all cars, all trains, all planes you see in the world have been made from bauxite. They turn it into aluminum. And then so imagine only that country, Guinea, and it's a very rich country. They have diamonds, they have a lot of gold, they have anything. So if this country can apply equal trade, can you imagine any car you sell in the world, 30 or 40% of that money goes back to Guinea? Do you think there will be poverty in Guinea? That's where my mother is from. So when I go back to Guinea today, and that's where all these things start. We cannot accept this longer. Africa is too rich to have, and then you take a country like Congo. These mobile phones, they are producing millions of them every day. There is one material here, coltan, called coltan. You can only find it in Congo. Without coltan, you don't have any mobile phone. You can't have any laptop. You can't have any satellite in the world hanging above us. So think about this equal trade. If we realize it, it's the poverty history in Africa in one time. That's why we need to come together and do everything we can to let it happen. Do you see other comments or questions? Yeah, the World Trade Organization. Very good. Abigail. That's also a very nice name. Thank you for being here. Integration is needed among African like you said, Max, not just within, but how to deal with foreign integrated bloc of economic, combine the value of Africa in this from the, that's completely true. And to come back, I'll come back to this, Robin, wait, just what Abigail said, the World Trade Organization will be addressed when we have created the critical mass of supporters in Europe and in the United States. Then we will talk to them. So be quiet, it's coming. We are on our way. And integration, actually, what Robin is saying is very, very important. And combine the value of Africa is the foundation, right? We have so much to offer to the world, but through the situation now, we are not shining. African people have been made to shine. That's why we have this music. You can listen to African music without moving. We have so much power as people, but we are not shining because of this situation. I don't want to use any bad word here, but the situation we are in now is not allowing us to be who we are. And who we are is very important for the world. Yeah, the present chairman of the World Bank is from Nigeria. Yeah, that's why they call it World Trade Organization. It's all this international structure, like Kofi Annan was also the chairman of the United Nations. You know, it doesn't make any sense and it doesn't create any change when it comes to Africa. So that's a problem. And these are structure where they use African to show up the diversity, like, oh, we are open, we are inclusive, African are here. But once again, you have seen how it goes. This guy from Nigeria should be talking like what I am saying now at this stage, at this in this organization. But if he starts talking like this at the World Trade Organization, they will just kick him out directly. They will tell him from now it's enough. You know, we didn't employ you to talk about this on equal trade system. The trade system is very good because it's benefiting all other partners except from Africa. Sinotrek. Yeah, how can they accept profit sharing? Yeah, like I said, they will accept profit sharing for two reasons. First, because the people are asking for it, and the pressure will also come from Europe. You take all the, we are starting, by the way, now to inform you about this. There is a research starting very soon about the flower industry between Ethiopia and the Netherlands. And then we take the coffee from Ethiopia. And then we take another sesame, another raw material from. So the pressure will come also from Europe. If Europe asks for equal trade, our leaders cannot say we don't want it. And if the second reason is that the mobilization in Africa will show our leaders that people are not asking for regime change. We are not asking the government in Ethiopia to leave the office. We are asking them to apply equal trade. If they do that, they can remain in the office for 100 years. We don't care about that. We only want to change the life of African people because we are losing too much money in this trade system. So the government who will do this will, and because if they like that, so they will stay on power, no problem. But this equal redistribution of wealth has to happen because they don't need to be afraid. Now they are afraid because I show you what Ghana is getting. 100 million. compared to 20 billions. They are afraid of sharing 100 billions. And I can understand that. If you give me now 1 million and you tell me, Max, you have to share it with the whole village, I will say, no, I don't want to share it. But if you give me 20 billions, I can share and then keep 10 million for me. So by applying equal trade, African government will have more money than what they have now. After redistributing to the population, they will still have more money than what they are getting from this trade system now. So I don't see any reason, if we explain it in the right way, with academic research, and I believe they are not unwilling to do this, but you know, human beings are also emotional. So when someone is afraid, he doesn't take the good decisions. So we can ensure them, like with equal trade, you will have 10,000 times more revenue than what's happening now. And when you redistribute this revenue, you will still keep more than what you have now. And I think they will accept that. And we are talking about a peaceful change, a peaceful revolution. And because it will happen in all African countries, it will be very ridiculous if one government in Africa refuses to do this, while all other countries are doing it. So there are the different reasons for them to do this peacefully without too much resistance. But by the way, it was a very good input. We also need to avoid aid. We have to work and feed ourselves. We also need to have our own new media to tell our truth, not see. And yeah, you're right. And to do all this, we need to be able to have the budget to do it. It's all about revenue the country has. And Africa is too rich. We can even found this, we can buy CNN. If we apply equal trade, we will have so much revenues. And don't think, you know, European, American, they are very weak when it comes to money. So if you calculate how much CNN, the value of CNN, and you give them 2-3 times more money, they will just give you CNN. That's what's happening here. When a company grows, they sell it. So we don't need aid. We are helping the whole world since centuries already. This is what we need to understand. Yeah, like Mr. Sheriff is saying now, Africa can feed the whole world. We have like 400 million hectares of arable land. The only continent having 17% of arable land left in this world is in Africa. This gives us a wonderful position to lead the world. So all we need, like you are saying, we need to get our people aware of this. We need to mobilize them. We need to mobilize people in Europe as well, because they have this political and economical power. And combining these two will create a kind of crossfire effect. This time there will be no escape to the African revolution. But this is the way to get there, peacefully. We are tired of conflict in Africa. And the world is also tired of conflict. And we Africans can bring peace in the world, to the world. And this is how we should think. And don't think only, yeah, we African, we need this, we have to. No, Africa can play a very important role in for the whole world. And that should be our aspiration. And not thinking we save ourselves. And no. African people have, our destiny is to rule the whole world in the peaceful way, giving them values they don't have right now. African people, we are never create weapon industry. We are the only continent on Earth who never think about building factories to make weapons to kill each other. Why is it like that? Because we are the one to create peace for the world. Africa is the mother of this earth, and the mother doesn't think in violence. But the way we are now, nobody listens to us because nobody takes us serious. So like you're saying, you're completely right. We first need to come together, organize ourselves in a very intelligent way, and stop wasting time with things like the culture, the history. The history has been there. We know that. Fine. African culture is beautiful. Fine. But that's not essential. We should focus first how to eradicate poverty and how to become a power, and then how to share our value with the world. That's my objective. And I really hope we will get millions of African and friends of Africa outside of Africa joining this movement. But during the next live stream, we will go more deeper in this concept. Then you will learn more about it. Thank you very much, Robin. And thanks to Paul. You don't see Paul, but he's an excellent. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, brother. Yes. Right. I just keep one word out of this is peace. This is who we are. We are on earth to create peace for all citizens. That's why we have welcomed all these people in Africa, thinking that they were like us. But it's time to get back to the position where Africa will be leading the world in the peaceful way. Harmony. And that's my message to rulers in Africa, politicians on power. Leading a country means feeling love for your people. That's the only emotion that should lead you in all your action. Love and not fear. Only love. Being a leader means loving people. Once you are convinced of that, believe me, all your decision, all your action will work very good out. So this is very important. And because we have been facing all this conflict and exploitation, we have learned from it, and for centuries, like you're saying, so we know the meaning of it. We know the value, and we can share this because it's in our DNA. Like I said, African people have never thought about creating weapon industries. There is a movie about Chaka Zulu, by the way. You can see how they were fighting wars in that time. Well, just by dancing, you know, and then laughing on each other. That is Africa. We are peaceful, and we can share this peaceful mind with all world. But we need to become strong. I see there are so many comments. Great show, SWAHILI Nation. Thank you very much. How far are we now? I'm not watching the time. We still have 10 minutes or 15 minutes. Thank you so much for this very fruitful and great session. Already looking forward to the next one. You are very welcome, Chrissy. I hope you will be there. Don't promise me to come and you don't show up. I'll go after you. Thank you very much, Marit. Join. We are together anyway, so I'm not gonna ask you to join because you are in. So thank you also for following. So we still have a few minutes. So let me tell you maybe about the next session. During the next session, the next one, next week, Tuesday, if everything goes right, having my agenda, I will present you the equal trade movement, the way we are starting, what we are doing. The campaign is already running through Europe. We are setting up teams in different African countries. So I will present you the whole concept of equal trade, and then we can discuss again about it. And if you want to join at the end of the next session, you will have the link. It's a QR code with your phone. You just can scan it, and then you can apply for volunteering. You can join the movement. And then for you to understand, what we want is not big. It's not asking you too much effort. It's all about visibility. So we are building up the website. We already have one, but we are restructuring it, updating it. The social media will be very active very soon with all teams from all Africa. All we ask you is to be present, to show up. Because this time, I'm telling you, we are talking about a peaceful revolution. All we need is numbers. We need to have this critical mass of supporters. And then we start putting the pressure on European government to start, and European multinational, American government, American multinational, Chinese government, Chinese multinational, because it's not only Europe and America. China is also doing even more than what's happening. So we need to reach this critical mass by mobilizing people in Europe, mobilizing people in Africa, and through the diaspora, mobilizing people finally all over the world. So that is what we are going to talk about next time. I think we are going to stop. I really like to thank you all to have been following this, and a very big number of people and comments. I'm very grateful. And I would like to close the session by thanking God again for having given me this opportunity to tell you about this concept, and give you also the opportunity to listen to it. And I'm asking him to support us in our way. I'm asking him to support us until this equal trade become a reality. It's already a reality because we are talking about it. This is my life mission, and I want you to join, and I'm very thankful to God to give me this opportunity. See you next time, and enjoy your evening. And God may God bless all of you.
So the lie began from the very beginning of time, right? And I can ask you one question right now. What does history tell you about Africa? Who discovered Africa? If you write right now on Google who discovered Africa, you find out that is one white man that he came and discovered Africa. And you can ask yourself that how can you discover a place that already exists? How can you discover a place that people already live in that place? It is impossible, but that's what the history tells us. That's what people believe about Africa, that it was discovered by a white man. This guy, he came, and then he went back, he gave a report, and then the next we know is colonialism, because those guys, they sat somewhere to divide Africa like a piece of cake, because they discovered it, they own it, it belonged to them. But that is us. We discovered, we're the first people to know. And today you have a lot of people around the world that they think that Africa was discovered by them.